Good morning, everybody. All right, let's make sure we are live and rolling. Okay. Good morning. Happy Monday. I see you guys are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on probably Pluto and Saturn and God knows where. Let's see. I want to make sure that I can see if you guys are putting comments in. Sorry, just some minor logistics this morning. Things seem to look a little different on the live dashboard, which is why I'm just taking a second. Okay. I hope this is running on the Facebook, but okay. So if you guys can see me, just put something in the chat so that I know I'm not just like talking into to nowhere. Because I think this is working the way it's supposed to. It just looks different today for some reason. You know how sometimes the platforms, they like make updates? They make updates and then where you're used to seeing things, you like don't see them. Okay, awesome. Oh, good. I see Jessica. I see Bon Jovi tribute band. Tell me your name again, Mr. Bon Jovi tribute band. I know that you've been in here before. Tell me your name again. Okay, good. I feel better now that I know that I'm not just like speaking into the metaverse for no reason. Still says it's connecting on Facebook, but I guess we'll just deal with that later. Just tech is fine. Okay, so what we're talking about today, guys, is how to diagnose tongue tension and how to fix tongue tension. So tongue tension is something that's like this insidious thing because a lot of singers don't realize that it's something that they deal with. And a lot of teachers also don't realize that it's something they needed to be checking in with their students, probably because they weren't given any tools to understand if they had tongue tension. So it's just not something that's like on their radar. So the way that tongue tension sabotages and why it's something that we really want to be on the lookout for is because, so when you think of your tongue, it's a very heavy, very strong muscle. I think in like pound for pound in terms of like the strength of your tongue, I think your glutes are the only other muscle that's actually stronger in your body. So when you think of your tongue, the root of your tongue goes all the way down, like back, and it kind of the root of the tongue kind of lodges not too far above your larynx. So for singers, paying attention to your tongue is really important because if you have tongue tension, what happens is that the muscle of the tongue, which when you sing needs to be just soft and wide and live kind of nice and forward in your mouth, with tension gets narrowed and pulled like so it narrows and it shortens and it contracts and it pulls back down and presses down on your larynx. And this, for obvious reason, creates a whole host of problems for your sound, for your breath, for how the larynx is able to vibrate freely, because now we've got this heavy, very strong muscle putting pressure on it. So in order to understand, first of all, if you have tongue tension, what I can tell you is like this little diagnostic that I think is incredibly eye-opening. Now, not everybody has tongue tension. So if you do this diagnostic and you don't feel what I am going to describe, then you're good. Then you can just kind of know that this is something you can kind of keep your eye on and look out for. But if it's not something that you're experiencing, then don't worry about it. But if it is, then we're going to talk about some things to do to fix it. So you're going to take your thumb and you're going to put it right here, kind of under your chin in the soft spot. And that's where, that's where the root of your tongue is, like right there. Okay. And you're just going to kind of like do like this and hook your thumb in so it presses on that on that tongue muscle. Because what you're pressing on under there, that's the root of your tongue. That's the underside of the muscle of your tongue. And so if you put your thumb here and you swallow, you'll feel your tongue kind of go like this because that's the normal action of the tongue. is to contract and go this way to move the food, help the food swallow and move down into your stomach, down your esophagus, down into your stomach. So that's where your root of your tongue is, and you can feel it. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is, and you can either do this now or you can do this later when you have some more time in your own practice. But while you're practicing, especially while you are doing things that kind of go to the edge of your comfort level when it comes to your technique. So whether it be rising high into pitch, changing registers perhaps from chest to head, your high notes, whether those of you who do more high chest singing, otherwise known as belting, okay? Really notice and stick your hand in there and notice what you feel. So you're just going to sing, or or stay in chest voice, right? So this is diagnostic. And as you sing, I want you to notice what you feel under there on your thumb. Now, what is natural is you will feel some vibration, but what we don't want to feel is the root of this tongue, and you can watch me, I'm going to do it, like pushing down. Now, that's a huge exaggeration, okay, just so you could see. But if you feel the root of your tongue pushing down onto your thumb, then that's your tongue contracting and moving down and trying to control the sound. And it oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes results in a sound that, like, to its extreme, is what I call the Kermit the Frog sound, which is like, if you feel this and you make the Kermit sound, hi, I'm Kermit, or the Pee Wee Herman sound, the Pee Wee Herman, Kermit the Frog, hear that sound? You'll notice that you feel your tongue pressing on your thumb when you do that to make that sound. And it's a sound, I mean, she's not watching this, so I can, whatever, but like Shakira, my hips don't lie. It's like that, my hips don't lie. I mean, Shakira, if you want to know what a tongue tension sound really sounds like in its extreme, just listen to Shakira. I don't know how she doesn't sing particularly high, and she doesn't sing particularly powerfully, so she's getting away with this. But if she did need to sing high and belty and powerfully, she'd be fatigued. It'd be a massive problem for her because there's a lot of tension going on. So whether you're ending up making that sound or not, that's not always the case, but it's just a good clue, okay? And so start to notice as you're singing, do you feel that? And so if you do, give your thumb a little jiggle, like on these muscles. So you're gonna jiggle it, and just give a little softness to that thumb muscle to that tongue muscle to remind it that it doesn't need to work. And see what happens if you consciously feel your tongue softening and widening and spreading out like peanut butter over your thumb instead of contracting and pushing against it. Okay. So as you're doing this exercise, tell me in the chat, do you feel your tongue? Like, who feels their tongue pushing down on their thumb? And who doesn't feel a whole lot? Like, you will feel vibration. That's normal to feel vibration, but not pressure. Okay. So let me know what you're feeling. Also, if you're doing this in the, what do you call it? After the fact and you're watching the replay, you can also just tell me in the chat because I want to know what you're experiencing. Do a few scales. I feel a little vibration, but I don't feel pressure. So play around, okay? So the first thing is for you to check in and notice. Second thing, in terms of how to fix this, is what I was saying. If you feel the pressure and the contraction in this onto your thumb as you're singing, wiggle your thumb under here. You give it a little reminder. Oh, I don't need to soften. Now, if when you soften your tongue and you give it that reminder, the sound completely poops out, then you have a huge point of data there. Because what that means is that this contraction of the tongue and this tension and over controlling in the tongue is compensating to try to support your sound. And when you don't control this anymore and you let this go, nothing else down here comes in to efficiently support your sound where it's supposed to be. So, as in many, many things in singing, especially if you work with me, tension is not the actual problem. It is a symptom of the real problem, which is that 9 times out of 10, you don't have reliable, efficient, lower support in your breath support to support the sound that you are making. And so some other part of your body, in this case, your tongue, could be your jaw, could be your throat, could be your ribs, is tensing, is contracting to try to control the sound because the lower support is unreliable. So as you guys start to play with this, these are the two things to notice, which is if you are able to relax your tongue, number one, that's a big deal if you can relax it, because oftentimes the habit is so ingrained that a singer can't even relax it. If you do relax it, does your support kick in or does it not? In which case, now you know what to work on. Work on your support. This is not going to let go in a lot of cases if the support is not there to come online when it needs to support the sound, okay? Now, if you are directing your tongue and you're giving a little wiggle here and the tongue is still like, hell no, I need to help you. I need to control. Like, I am not going to let go here. And no matter what, you're telling it to soften, you're giving it direction, and it just won't. Then the next thing that I want you to do, and yes, Jess, we were doing this in class. Jessica's in our intensive program. And we were doing a lot of work on this, which is what gave me this idea to come on here and do this live, actually, is to give your body an experience of what that support and what that shape inside space can feel like when your tongue is not contracting down. And so what you do is you take your hands, or if you want to take like a washcloth, if you don't want to actually hold your tongue with your hands, but either way, and literally pull your tongue out of your mouth. So just literally grab it or take a washcloth or something and grab it and literally let your tongue be soft. Give your tongue to your hand. Let your hand pull your tongue out of your mouth. So your tongue is like on vacation. It's just like soft and wide, and you're just keeping it outside of your mouth with your hand. Okay. And then you're going to do some sirens on an ah vowel, like this. Ah, ah, ah. And you're just pulling your tongue out, okay? Because we need to get the security blanket right now, which is if you're grabbing in your tongue, that's your security blanket, because your support and your inside space don't really feel confident to do the job. So your tongue is like, I'll do it, and it contracts and it pushes down, okay? So we're literally pulling the tongue out, getting rid of the security blanket. You can't use your tongue. Your hand has got it. So now it gives you the experience of, oh, well, what am I really feeling in my support? Can I do this? And sometimes it's a heck of a lot easier, and it really shows you, oh, that's what the apoggio and the lean of the support feels like. Oh, that's what that feeling of resonance in space behind my eyes and between my ears really feels like, because my tongue is no longer interrupting the space, okay? So you stick your tongue out, and you can do a lot of sirens and hold your tongue out. So I'll do a few like more. Ah, on an ah vowel. Ah, ah. Okay, now, then on an ah, you're going to try to do some simple like 1 3 5 3 1 arpeggios. Again, holding your tongue and paying attention to your support. Ah. Now, as you're doing these, or even as you were doing the siren, you might notice that your tongue wants to fight you. Like as you're holding it, you might notice that it wants to pull back into your mouth. Notice it, set the intention, tell your tongue, we got you. and refocus your attention back down on your upward jaw and your support. If you don't have tools for that, then get tools for that, because that is why your tongue is doing this and not letting you, not chilling out. Okay. So again, on and and just do the exercises. Then you're going to remember what it feels like to trust that support and that shape, and you're going to let your tongue come back into your mouth, but you're going to give yourself the like imaginary experience of reminding yourself and feeling like your tongue is still moving out of your mouth. So even though I'm not holding it anymore, I'm imagining that it's like waving out of my mouth in the same, actually, you know what, let's add that step. So instead of holding it, now you're just going to see if you can keep it out on its own. Or does it want to do this? Did you notice how I consciously did this to show you, but I narrowed it and I pulled it back. You can rewind the video and you can watch. That's what your tongues are doing. They're narrowing and they're pulling back. Okay. So you might not be able to keep your tongue out of your mouth on its own right now. If you can't, hold it and reinforce the support. Reinforce. Condition that consistency. It's the lack of that consistency, which is why when you let your hand go, tongue feels like, oh, I still don't have total, consistency in my support. So tongue is like, I'm going to do it for you. And then it pulls and tries to control the sound again. Okay. So do that. Let's not skip that step. So tongue out, do a few sirens. And then some arpeggios. You can see my tongue kind of going like this. The higher I go, the more I want my tongue to move out. And this is not, you guys, necessarily about sounding good. You're on an it's like an odd vowel. Okay. It's more about the sensation of getting your tongue to trust the support and the space going on in your body. Once you can do it with your tongue sticking out, then let your tongue come back inside, but think in your imagination like you're waving your tongue out of your mouth, even though you're not. And you're going to go back to an ah vowel, but you're going to think and you're going to think like it's coming out your mouth. Ah, ah. You don't see my tongue going, ah. That's the Kermit the Froggy sound. Okay. So, oh, that's great. I see you guys playing with this. Yes, Susan, this is good. This is the exploration and the experimentation of how we diagnose and how we fix tongue tension. Now, this is all rooted in the idea that you have an understanding of how to efficiently use your breath support. If you don't, then get that skill set, condition that skill set, whether it's by hiring a high-level teacher, whether it's by coming in and working with us, like whatever that is. You cannot rid yourself of any kind of tension in your singing, whether it's tongue, jaw, neck, in your torso, like unless the other parts of your body that should be supporting your sound can do their job and know what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. And the tongue tension thing, like I was saying, it flies so under the radar. There are singers who, don't even realize that part of the reason that they're not getting the impact of their high chest voice, otherwise known as belt. I don't like to use the word belting because it implies like whack. And that's what most of you do when you belt, is you just whack it and then it's never as good as it could be. So when I say high chest voice, that's what I'm talking about. So for those of you who are pro singers, who are in the game, you're auditioning, you're recording, you are, putting yourself out there, performing a lot. And sometimes you notice you get some fatigue, maybe if you've sung for a while and you just like, yeah, you feel that in there, or you're not getting the impact that you need on those high chest voice notes, or you have issues with transitioning between registers, or there are times where you know that you have these really glorious head voice notes, like the super high pingy, for those of you who are opera singers and do the legit musical theater, those really pingy, like yummy notes, right? And they're just not as yummy as you know they could be, and you're just not sure why. Like this is the stuff, guys. This is like more super advanced stuff. This is for those of you who really have training and who are at that place with your voice where there's like that last 10% of potential. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like you're already a good singer. You're already putting yourself out there. You're already booking things. You're already getting paid. But there's a level that you're not achieving. You're not really happy. You haven't moved the needle into that place where you're getting paid larger amounts for your gigs. You don't need your day job anymore. Or maybe your equity status, if you're a Broadway person, but you're understudy. You're not getting the lead. Or people listen to your records, but you're never put on the Spotify playlists. You're never like, there's that last 10% of potential. And guys, that's the hardest percent to get to. It's easy. I shouldn't say easy. It's easier to get that 90%. Most singers, if you work hard, if you invest in your training, if you practice, you will get to that 90%. But the ones who are really making it, the ones who are really standing out from the competition, are the ones who know how to move the needle to that last 10%, to go from 90 to 100 in terms of tapping into the potential. And so this tongue technique, understanding tongue tension, this is really something that sort of picks on those little gaps that are stopping you from being that 90% pro singer that you are, where you're booking stuff, you're getting paid, whatever, but you're not making the big money. You're not getting the big opportunities. You're not, in equity shows yet. You're not winning Tonys, Grammys, whatever yet. Okay. Like this is not necessarily, this is something that, I mean, if you don't have your support dialed in, you will be experiencing this for sure. Or in your neck or in your jaw. Tension is not something that's reserved just for pro singers. But my point is that for those of you who need an edge to get that last 10%, then this is something that you need to look into. And we're going to be doing a lot more of these techniques, tools, game-changing systems to get you, if you are a pro singer, from that 90% to that 100% of tapping into your potential. So you can go from booking, non-equity gigs to booking equity gigs. So you can go from getting 10,000 plays on your single to getting 1 million plays on your single. Like these are the things that affect your impact. And if you're not tapping into that last 10% of your potential, this is why you're making enough of an impact, but you're not really getting where you want to go. So we have an upcoming free masterclass series that I'm starting, and the registration just opened today. And we start August 12th, and it's 7 days, and it's online, and it's free, and it's for those of you who are at that level. So this is not for those of you who are new to technique and you want some, technique help. A lot of the other workshops that we've done have been a lot more foundational. Okay. And so this is not for you. This is for you if you are already auditioning, you are already making some money, you are already releasing records, you already have some training, and you've gotten to that 90% mark, and you need help, you need an edge, and you need a strategy to be able to stand out from the competition, tap into that last 10% that's in you so that you can get the higher paying gigs, get the bigger elite opportunities. Okay. So I'm going to put the link in the chat for those of you who, are at that level. You're right there. You just need help to, tip over. I just put in the chat for you guys. It's being so slow today. There we go. This is our pro singer career accelerator workshop. Okay. Like the up levels that you have yet to realize, the things that your teachers just aren't picking up on because they're good, but they're not getting you to that potential. And so this is how we do that. And this is what our masterclass series coming up starting the 12th is all about. So I put the link to register in the chat. For those of you who this is speaking to, who lay in bed at night and you're like, what more can I possibly be doing? Like I have training, I'm doing it. I'm putting myself out there. I'm getting paid, but I'm just not like, where are those equity gigs? Where are those A-level opera house gigs? Like, I'm sick and tired of doing B and C level opera houses. I'm sick and tired of putting my records out. And yeah, I can fill a room with like 50 people, but like, what kind of management would be interested in me to help take me to the next level if I'm not making the kind of impact that brings me 200 people per gig? And I can do that in 35 different cities, right? It's about impact, guys. And I don't want you to have to lay in bed and wonder anymore, like, what more can I possibly be doing? And so these are the techniques that no one teaches, that nobody understands, is the difference between that last 10% to tap your potential. Because if you're going to be the one who gets those big equity gigs, if you're going to be in that top, 3% of singers who's actually making a full-time living, who's actually able to like stand on a Tony Award winning stage, who's actually able to, have big management, if you're a recording artist, it gets you in tours. Like, you have to make that kind of impact because you are tapping into that last 10% of your potential. And that's where most singers stop. They get there, they get to that point, and they don't know how to tip over because they're just not being taught some of these really game-changing tools. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. I see Amy in the chat. You're so sweet. Amy's living proof. She is. Amy stood on the biggest stage. She was brought into this massive worship conference to sing in front of, I don't know, what was it, 5,000 or something, in this massive arena. And worship is her jam, like that kind of music. And so this stuff works, guys. So that's what we're showing you. I mean, it's very good for me to like say, it works. And, for Amy and some of our other clients to be like, it works, but it's hard to understand. How do you do that, Arden? How do you do that? And so this is why I'm doing this workshop for pro singers this time, to really help you experience for yourself a new way of training that gets to these straightforward, but never talked about techniques that bring that last 10% of potential. So that's what we're doing. And I hope you'll register if this is speaking to you and you're right for it. Then come join us. It's free. It's free because I want you to understand what can be different when you learn a different way to tap in and to train. Okay, guys, I will see you next Monday. Go check in, play with your tongue, see what you notice, and type and let me know as you're experimenting with it in the chat, and I'm happy to respond. And if you're intrigued by the Pro Singer Career Accelerator Workshop, register in the chat. It's the link, and I will see you there. Bye, guys.